All right, I'm an economist. We're not usually considered a fun group. I have to admit, we're the dismal science, as it were. And let me tell you right off the bat, to be dismal about it, the perfect one for you does not exist. So what do? From an economics perspective, searching for a partner is just cost-benefit analysis. You keep searching until the point where the expected benefits of finding someone better outweigh the costs of looking for that person. So remember, economics is, this isn't funny. This is economics. It's not funny. It's not anyway, so you want to search for a partner along those lines. Now, remember, economics, like I said, is the study of scarce resources, not the study of money. And what's the scarce resource when you're dating? Time. Time is money. Everybody says time is money. From my perspective, it's money is time. Time is part of a utility function, and you can trade it off for money and other things. So what are the costs of looking for someone else? Well, you're giving up time that you could spend keeping your house clean, doing other leisure, working out. I'm showing my age. What do I do with my spare time? I watch Downton Abbey. Okay, what do you do? I don't know, whatever the younger person equivalent of watching Downton Abbey is. But so if you think about it, you kind of have an obligation to keep searching till you find somebody better, because that's what life is all about, finding the perfect person. But because I don't think that happens, you have to think of it as an optimal stopping rule. So it's kind of an operations research problem as well. You've had these classes on optimal stopping rules in your operations classes. And so in the end, what you need to do is you need to settle. I know that sounds terrible. And I got to tell you, I have a girlfriend now, and I have to stick with her because she hears me talk about settling, and she's okay with it. She's a social scientist as well, so that kind of helps. But what you're really doing is you're looking for the best subject to other constraints. So it's a simple cost-benefit analysis type of idea. You just keep searching until you don't know. It might be worth looking more, but you'll never know. It's not worth trying to find out. Now, the job search is just exactly the same. A lot of you are in the middle of job searches right now, and you're looking for the perfect job. Don't do that. It does not exist either. I'm ruining everybody's, you're here to find a mate and a job, and I've just told you, lower your expectations substantially. Might as well learn now. Anyway, you can always find a better employee or job if you keep looking. But the problem is, your resources are limited. The amount of time you want to spend is just too great. And that results, the time and effort people spend looking for job results in what we call frictions. So in a perfect world, in the very canonical, simplest price theory models from the University of Chicago and places like that, search theory is irrelevant because the market equilibrates very quickly. But there are, in real markets, and especially markets like dating and the job market, there are frictions in the market. And so we have to think about, okay, how do we deal with that? And what ends up happening is people end up unmatched for periods of time in both those markets. Okay, now what does that mean? Well, there's a couple of guys, Dale Mortensen, really wonderful economist and a great guy who recently passed away, and Chris Pissarides. They won the Nobel Prize for studying how search frictions lead to unemployment. So this idea of frictions in the market is critical in the labor market because it leads to unemployment. And the Nobel Committee explained exactly that when they gave them the Nobel Prize. They said, since the search process requires time and resources, it creates frictions in the market, and et cetera. And so then it says, simultaneously, there are both job vacancies and unemployment on the labor market. So it's simply the fact that people are spending time looking at resumes and waiting and holding out for a better offer. That is one of the things that leads us to have unemployment. So we have what we call a natural rate of unemployment. Even if the market's going gangbusters, people are looking around for jobs, and some of them are in the process of looking and therefore and waiting for a better offer and so forth, and therefore we end up with unemployment. The exact same logic leads to finding a life partner, right? So why are you single right now if you're single? Well, there's frictions. You can't just hop on Match.com and find the perfect person right away. As we said, you have to kind of figure out whether or not the right, when to stop. And so as a result, if you're not willing to settle, you end up with what an economist would call romantic unemployment. Okay? Loneliness is just romantic unemployment. They're exactly the same basic principle, right? You're between girlfriends, or you're between jobs, or you're between boyfriends. And the idea is there's frictions that are keeping you from getting where you need to be. So you can see the job market and the life partner market have these just overwhelming parallels. And the key one, which we're going to come back to because it's so important when we talk about market thickness, is differentiated goods. No two potential life partners are the same. Every single one of them is different. And so you don't go to the store and, you go to the store to buy cereal, there's a row of Post Raisin Bran, and every box is the same. You go into the other market, which is looking for a job or looking for a significant other. Every single one is differentiated. The other thing that makes this market very different from others is both sides have to agree to the match. When I go to buy my cereal, the cereal just comes along. As long as I have the money, it goes with me when I leave the store. Okay? Both sides, but in a job market, think about it. The optimal stopping point, I said before, is you keep searching until you find somebody who is good enough and you settle for them. But that only works if they settle for you too. You keep searching for a cereal until you find one that's good enough. The cereal says, sure, I'm willing to do that. Okay? And then the idea that there's costly time spent screening and the option value of holding out in both cases is really significant. And so settling is the best strategy in both of these markets. Okay? So parallels to other markets can be strong as well, but I think the job market and the dating market hold the most in common and are, to me, the most interesting examples of where search theory in economics applies very nicely. Bigger is better in markets. Okay? It's just true. Liquid financial markets are really good because we get price competition and we get more efficient aggregation of information. The more people are buying and selling, the more efficiently the market works. Okay, for those of you who've seen Wolf of Wall Street, remember, how did the guy end up making a lot of money? He went to the markets that were illiquid and had bigger spreads, and that was good for him, but bad for the market as a whole. Big, good, efficient markets, they're better from an efficiency point of view, if not from an individual even if it's not each person is able to get richer. Well, the same principle applies to dating sites and job boards, but for a very different reason. It comes back to what we talked about a minute ago, and that is, in those markets, they're differentiated goods. So unlike the financial markets where each stock is exactly the same, differentiated goods, no two jobs, no two life partners are the same. So why do we want thick markets? Not because of efficient aggregation of information, all this other stuff, because we want better matches. The more of you in this room who then find each other as employees and employers, or the more of you in this room who find each other as, life partners, you're going to find somebody who's better than you, better for you. So let me give you a metaphor for this. So think about a boardwalk. You're looking for a life partner, and imagine that you are plunked down in the middle of a boardwalk, and all the potential matches for you are lined up along a boardwalk. And at one end of the boardwalk is people who are, not good for you for one reason. At the other end of the boardwalk is people who are not good for you for another reason. And right in the middle are people who are perfect for you. I know nobody's perfect for you, I said that before, but the people who are really, really good for you are right next to you on this boardwalk. So you got this long boardwalk, and at one, it's like Goldilocks. At one end, everybody's a little too big. At the other end, everyone's a little too small. And in the middle, it's just right, okay? So this is one view of that boardwalk. That's the Santa Monica Pier. And that's another view of that boardwalk. Now, which boardwalk would you rather be on looking for your potential match? You want to be on the left boardwalk because you want more people around you who are a good match for you. So metaphorically, you can think of the left boardwalk as being Match.com and the right boardwalk as being the people in the singles bar down the street that you would find tonight. And I was trying to remember the bar we used to hang out at, but I'm sure it's changed since then anyway. Hold on one sec. You could also think of the left one as monster.com and the right one as the help wanted ads in the New Haven Register. Okay, and you could think of the left as the MLS housing, the multiple listing service housing market, and the one on the right as the houses your broker happens to have for your buy-side broker happens to have for sale on the sell side, and that's what he or she wants to match you to anyway. Yeah, go ahead.
So then I guess taking this with your, it sounded earlier like you were a proponent of higher pricing in the market for dating websites. So I guess then what is the incentivization for a dating website to price? Because why would you it's likely that in many cases you end up from left to right. And so I guess unless the quality unless the market's both thick and the quality is bad, why would anybody want to raise their price single-handedly?
Great question. And again, this comes back to more sort of the models I'm not going to get to, which are cheap talk and signaling. And those are, for now, take it as given that everybody is on the boardwalk and you know where they really belong. But in the real world, that's a fantasy, unfortunately. People lie on their, I hate to break this to you, people lie on their dating profiles. They pad their resumes. I mean, people, yeah, they lie. And so if you could, the idea of paying is it helps get people reveal where they really are on the boardwalk, and that could be valuable even if it thins the market out. But there are times where you want to go to a thinner market if you get the right selection, shall we call it, but or in this case, if it's makes the market more transparent. But if everybody were fed truth serum, then we wouldn't have to worry about making people pay and other things like that, and we could have the thickest possible market. Okay.